Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our Getting Started with Viva Amplify webinar. We're thrilled to talk to you today about Viva Amplify. We'll get started here in just a couple of seconds. We're just gonna wait for a couple final people to join on. All right, once again, welcome to the Getting Started with Viva Amplify webinar. We are thrilled to have you. Today we're going to explore a lot about how you actually get access to Viva Amplify, how you can roll it out in your organization, and how you can get started creating and publishing campaigns, as well as measuring the impact over those of those campaigns. Now, before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself, and I am joined here by my wonderful colleague, Liz. My name is Michael Holste. I am on the marketing team for Viva Amplify. I've been in this employee experience space for a long time, kind of focusing on corporate communications, connection, leadership engagement, and employee engagement. And I will hand the mic over to Liz to introduce herself.
Everyone, I am Liz Sundet, and I have been working on the Viva Amplify product team for about the last year and a half. Prior to that, I was working on Viva Connections, so this all kind of fits within the same space in terms of working with corporate communicators. And so extending that and be doing a live demo of Viva Amplify today, as well as answering a bunch of your questions. So thank you very much for having me.
Great, thank you. So a quick look at what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to do a little bit of an overview for those who are brand new to Viva Amplify, and keeping in mind Viva Amplify has only been generally available or public to licensed holders for about a month and a half, so it's still really new. So we'll do a quick overview on what Viva Amplify is, and then a little bit about how you can get it, how you can get access, what it takes in order to use Viva Amplify, how you can try it out, and then how, once you have it set up, how you actually get to it and start using it. From there, we'll dive deeper into creating and managing those campaigns, both from templates or creating it from kind of as you go or do it yourself. And how you can do workflow publishing, how you can channel out, or how you can publish out to multiple channels, and then how you can gather up all of those analytics for to see the impact that your campaign made. And then please type your Q&A in the chat as this session goes on. We will do our best to get to it during the session, but at the end, we will also reserve time to answer those questions. So if you don't hear it during real time, please stick around till the end. We'll have some time for Q&A, and then we'll share some resources on how you can continue your Viva Amplify journey. All right. So as we started, what is Viva Amplify, and why is Microsoft in this corporate communication space? We've done a tremendous amount of research in what we call our work trend index. And basically, Microsoft captures all of these signals and all these productivity tools and how people are working together. And one of the pieces of feedback we get from communicators is that there's still a number of challenges that they face in their day-to-day and their week-to-week and their month-to-month work. Firstly, there's still uncertainty around who's getting these communications. Are they reading them? Where do they post them? You know, there's so many channels. Do you post it in Viva Engage? Do you post it in SharePoint or in Viva Connections? Do you send it in Outlook? Do you put it in a Teams channel, or do you put it as a chat in Microsoft Teams? But really, communicators and professional communicators, or really anyone who wants to communicate out a message that is really critical, they need to ensure that the delivery of that lands where employees are going to see it, and they want to be able to measure that. They want to be able to see that people have seen it, and that ties right into employees aren't receiving the critical messages, or there's kind of information overload or channel overload. So they're getting a lot of noise. They're getting a lot of what some people might call spam, but they're not getting the information that they really need. They also want to know how they can improve their communication. So they want tips. They want to leverage the power of AI. They want to be able to dive into the data to see the most effective time to publish something, or the right channel, or who are the right audiences for different pieces of content. And then, of course, they want a streamlined way to do this. They want to be able to manage teams. They want to be able to manage a workflow. They want to be able to approve and get other people's sign off before they publish these really critical communications. And then they want to be able to scale these communications out, not just beyond their team, but to their department, to their entire organization, and then in some instances, even multi-tenantly. So with that in mind, that's kind of the trigger point for why Microsoft started building these tools out. And we were in preview for a very long time. We did this with the voice of the customer in mind, and we really had this goal to converge all of these different communication channels to give one editing and publishing center for corporate communicators who need it most. So with that, I'd like to introduce Viva Amplify. For those who haven't seen it, it is a brand new tool designed specifically for the corporate communications audience. And the goal of it is to centralize that communication process so that you have a single area that you can go to where you can save time, you can create templates, you can create kind of communications teams or workflow teams. You can provide additional details around the communications you're trying to send in the campaign brief, and you can get access to all of those really intelligent reporting systems and dive into the data, break it out by different employee groups and different audiences or different geos to be able to really see who's seeing the communications and ensure that your message is landing and that your most important info is getting out there into Outlook and SharePoint and Teams and all these places where employees are doing so much of their work. And who's it for? Of course, it's for the corporate communications team. It's also for HR. It's open enrollment season, and that's a huge one where HR has these really important messages and campaigns that they need to get into the hands of employees because there's a small window where they're able to opt in or they're able to elect or change or select their plans for the upcoming year. So there's a lot of different individual teams within an organization, especially department heads, who have critical information, whether it relates to HR or talent or hiring or corporate changes, strategy changes, et cetera. Moving to the next area for business leadership and support. Of course, at the top of each department, there's going to be really, really important messages that go out around culture, around strategy, around team building, around FY planning or calendar year planning or holiday messaging or changes to pay structures or team sizes. So executives and their supporting corporate communications staff definitely need this, and they need the ability to post on behalf of those leaders and be able to engage in conversations with employees back and forth. And then, of course, all functional and role communications, IT managers, people who are rolling out new technology, adopting new technology. Of course, AI and Copilot is on the tip of everyone's tongues, being able to help employees understand what technological changes are coming and how that impacts their day-to-day and how it impacts their role. And then, of course, how to actually use these so that you don't just roll out these technologies, but encouraging the communication of how to adopt and enable and succeed with them. And then lastly, I think I myself fall into this one, the communication creators. And this is kind of everyone who has to sometimes wear their communications hat. So when Viva Amplify rolled out, for instance, at Microsoft, there were a lot of corporate communications that I sent out internally around its launch and around, the readiness materials and the branding guidelines and how we talk about it and FAQs and blogs. So there's a lot of times where I have to wear my communications hat or other employees need to wear their communications hat, and they would like to have access to a tool like this so that they can track the impact of what their own work scope is. Cool, and let's move into licensing. So how do we get it? Right now, all employees that are licensed for Microsoft Viva Suite will, of course, have access to all of the Viva value and every Viva app. But then we also have a special employee communications and communities mini bundle that starts at $2 per user per month. That includes Viva Amplify. It also includes everything in Viva Engage, including all the new premium value like multi-tenant publishing and storyline and posting on behalf of others and Leadership Corner and campaigns and AMAs and events. And then also the new Connections premium features. So things like announcements in Viva Connections and some advanced analytics and cards. And then lastly, it also includes Answers in Viva, which is kind of a AI-powered Q&A, expert knowledge, and matching tool that lives within Viva Engage. So there's two ways to get this. Of course, I would always recommend Viva Suite is the easiest way to get all of the value that lives in Viva. But now if you are looking for just a communications and a community-led or a cultural solution, we have this communications and communities deal here at $2 per month. That's at starting price. Of course, with large enterprise agreements at Microsoft, many people don't pay that price. There's all kinds of discounting available, but reach out to your account teams for that. One thing I would like to touch on, though, is we get a lot of questions around, can I just license this for the 10 people who are going to be on the exec corporate communications team? And that isn't something that we're currently supporting right now. If you want to be able to both publish and read and use these experiences, we are requiring a license for all users. And this slide can kind of be a leave behind, but I'm happy to go in and answer additional licensing questions. I'm sure there'll be some in the chat. But otherwise, we could spend this whole session talking about licensing. But if you're interested in Viva Amplify, there's two ways to trial it right now. So first, if you are already a Microsoft 365 customer, or if you already have an enterprise license, so let's say you're already working with Teams and Word and so forth in your day-to-day. If you already have access to SharePoint is a great way to judge if you're an existing customer. If you are, then please follow this link, aka.ms/amplify trial/existing, and that will give you 50 seats for 2 months to be able to try it before you buy it, publish campaigns, get access to it. It's the easiest way. And for new customers, if you are brand new to Microsoft or brand new to using SharePoint, if you've never seen SharePoint or Teams and you're investigating this as a new solution, you can trial this with the following link, aka.ms/amplify trial/new, and that will give you 25 seats and 30 days. So we sometimes refer to this as existing commerce versus new commerce, but a different link, but you'll get the same value. All right, with that, I hope I haven't used up too much time because we have a lot of great stuff coming in the demo. I'm going to hand it back to Liz and I will jump in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mike. I am going to go to my live demo screens of Viva Amplify. And I just wanted to start out with, one of the most common questions that we get from people is, how do I find Amplify? Where is this? It's kind of a little bit maybe obscured. You can actually go to your waffle, and then if you go to exploring all of your apps, you can find it if you click on all of the apps and find the Amplify button here. So it is available. This would be only for, desktop within a browser to be able to get to Amplify. And then one of the easiest ways that I like to show customers, because I work with customers every single day, is how to get to this from a existing SharePoint site. I can append this _layouts /15 /viva-amplify.aspx to a page to be able to take me directly into where my campaigns are able to get started. All right, so as you see, I don't have any campaigns started in this particular tenant yet, so I'm going to go ahead and create a campaign. Now, if you need some ideas in terms of creating campaigns and getting started, we have a wonderful catalog that is available to you. We'll share those in the resources that are out on adoption.microsoft.com later on in this presentation, but there's about 7 or 8 different campaigns to help you get started already. And I know a couple of different campaigns that we've done within Microsoft most recently is we had, our annual sign up for benefits, as well as we just completed a give campaign where people were able to give to charitable organizations, put in volunteer time, all of those types of things. So I wanted to do today an example following on the footsteps of a give campaign. So I'm just going to title this the give campaign, and you can see it's going to create that SharePoint site and tells me it is available for me to create that. And I'm going to just give it a description of annual give campaign We have several different languages, so I can choose which language I am going to work with the campaign management and all of those features within. I can create content in any language, however, even outside of the language that I'm seeing the campaign management tool in. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to choose English, but you can see we've got over 50 languages already available for the use of this campaign. I'm also going to choose a color. I love my Viva Amplify purple color, so I'm going to make this purple. It's just a nice way to be able to identify how I might be able to get back into that campaign. And then I want to set up additional owners. So Adele and Megan are both going to be working with me on this particular campaign. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to change owners or editors or approvers. I can have all 3 user types within this. This is not where we set who the messages are going to be going to, but those people that are going to be working with me on this particular campaign. And when I click that create a campaign button, it's actually going to go through and it's going to create that M365 group for me, along with a corresponding SharePoint site and a Teams instance for me to be able to go ahead and get started using these campaign management tools. You'll see I've got an overview of my entire campaign. I've got some templates that I can start my publications with immediately, or I can create a new blank template, campaign publication from a blank template. But I can also start by publishing some strategy and thinking about my strategy. This is what we call a campaign brief. This is open areas for me to be able to type in what are my objectives, what are my messages that I'm wanting my team to be able to work on in terms of what goals and seeing if we can achieve those goals. So I'm going to create awareness of annual Give campaign. And I might want some key messages around volunteering, time contributions, company match for giving. I might have several of these ideas, and I might actually include a couple of sentences around what I want to produce in that key message. Whatever you want to put in here, it's relatively easy. It's just an open area for me to put in those messages and really guide the entire team on creating those publications that are met some of those goals and the strategy overall. Next, everybody loves to see the actual publication. I'm going to go through and just create a brand new publication. For those of you that have ever used SharePoint, this will be looking very, very familiar to you. In essence, it creates that SharePoint news post. And so whatever distribution channels that I'm pushing this campaign out to, it will create that SharePoint news post in a SharePoint message. It creates a Outlook email in an Outlook message, and then it creates a Teams channel message. We don't have Viva Engage quite yet, but we are working on that capability to bring Viva Engage into the fold and be able to post into different communities in Viva Engage, making use of the entire communities and connections space, as well as the Viva Suite integration as well.
And it's something we've publicly committed to, and it will be landing. We can certainly say I think we've already announced that we'll be landing near the first quarter of calendar year 2024. So right yes. After the new year, you can start keeping your ears perked up and your eyes peeled for it, and we'll be making quite a bit of noise. But we know it's an immediate need for our customers here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to just add a couple of pictures. I can create a lot of different content in terms of the different web parts that I have, images, text, different types of links. I can add different media files, so video files especially, backed by the power of Stream and SharePoint. I can add those different video files in, so makes for a great meeting recap if I've had a meeting, or if somebody's doing a recording to make that vocal announcement of what is happening with this particular campaign as well. And then I love to use the people web part at the very end, just to showcase these are the people that are really working on the contributions to this particular campaign. So I'm just going to go ahead and add, sorry, a couple of lines of text. Okay, and I'm going to add a couple of the people. Megan, and then Diego is working with me on this as well on the team. All right. And I can see my writing guidance on the side, so you can see what campaign objectives, what key messages that I put into that writing guidance, making it a little bit easier for me to craft my messages, making sure that it actually lines up with those objectives, with those key messages that I'm working on. And then I can select my distribution channels as well. So I've got the ability to either add or subtract the different distribution channels. We have them selected automatically. So in this case, I would subtract some of those different distribution channels. Say if I don't want it to go to Teams, but gosh, this is a perfect example that I want to go out to an all company email as well as to my SharePoint home site. So that's what I'm going to do next in terms of those distribution channels. And so I have this draft publication. It is now transpiling that page into how it's going to look in a SharePoint site and how it's going to look in a Outlook email for me to be able to adjust that, because I might want to have something looking just slightly different in terms of how it lays out or how it formats in my email versus how it lays out or formats in my SharePoint sites. But a lot of capabilities around being able to look and adjust for the feel in terms of how that is working. And so I did get, let's try refreshing this page really quick on Outlook. Seeing if that works. Yeah. All right, let's see if we can add the SharePoint site. So this is for the landing. I know this is the home site of my SharePoint intranet. And then I have up to 10 different sites that I can post this to. Now it's going to take on the wonderful theming and templates that you have already existing in your SharePoint site. So if you have a certain color that you have attributed to your home site, say if your color scheme is red and yellow, it is going to take on that colorful theming from that particular SharePoint site that you posted to. So you don't need to worry about any of kind of the colors or the theming. It might not look right in terms of where it is put, where you are constructing the message. It will automatically change as we post those to those different SharePoint sites. Okay, I'm not able to get my Outlook up and available, so I'm actually going to go back and take off that as a distribution channel. We are just going to post it to my SharePoint site. I could create another message and later on post it to that email as well, but it is not working for this particular post today. I'm also going to choose another SharePoint site, so I want it to go to that leadership team as well. All right, so I can adjust if I wanted to make some adjustments, add some additional pictures, change some verbiage, change some layouts, all of those types of things. I can customize this on this particular channel. When we are ready to publish, I have 3 different options in terms of publishing the content to these particular channels. I can choose a publish now, I can choose a schedule to publish, and then I can request an approval. So publish now, pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and publish this right now. I can also choose this schedule to publish. It will give me a really nice publication summary. And once I click that next button, I can choose a date and time that is in the future. This is based on my time zone, so my date and time that is in the future, to be able to publish this because I'm doing the authoring of it. So say if I didn't want this to go out until a certain date, I can choose what date and time that is going to be published in the future. And then requesting approvals. This is actually a really nice process in terms of being able to add additional approvers. If you remember, I didn't add approvers to the campaign initially, so I would have to, add those approvers to the campaign. But I can require responses. I can mark it as important. Those responses for those approvers would then be able to be going through the approvals app within Teams to be able to approve or deny those messages, make comments on those particular changes that they want to make. And then I can also choose, once I have collected all of those approvers, to be able to say, hey, do I want to post this message automatically and have it scheduled, or do I want to post it manually for it to come back to that author and be able to post that? So quite a nice complex approval process that we can go for as well. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to choose to publish it right now. You'll see in this publication summary that once I choose to publish it, it opens up into those publishing details and works on the publication to post wherever those channels that I have selected for. Now, in terms of email, you can absolutely select if you've got delegate permissions or if you have a shared mailbox set up. I could choose a shared mailbox, and you don't have any more rights than what you would normally have in your regular Outlook. So you can use DLs, you can use groups, but you have to have the ability to send those messages to those groups, to those DLs. And same thing with permissions on SharePoint. I have to have the ability to post those types of messages into those areas, as well as into those Teams channels. So I actually need to be a member or an owner of those areas in order for me to be able to do those posts. All right, once it is published, we can now go into where that is showing, and we can look at how it looks like on our company intranet. So here is where it's showing on our particular landing. We can now interact with this. We can put likes on it. We can make comments, all of those types of things to be able to move forward with it. And if I go back to my campaign, and I just want to go over, the actual campaign, I can see I've now published something within my campaign. Well, it's showing as published. I can also see there was a view on this because I actually went and viewed it in SharePoint. So I can see that there was a number of different people, 35 people across this particular tenant in our demo environments, across those 2 sites that I posted it to. So it's taking account of all of those unique users who have access to those areas and giving me a score on my engagement based on how many unique viewers I've had. And then I can also go in and look at the actual publication. So this might be on the overall campaign. This is actually on a drill down into that publication. And you can see I looked at it on SharePoint, and I have 1 positive reaction because I gave that a thumbs up in that particular area. So the analytics, the metrics that are powering behind all of these reporting functionality is really showing in real time. It's a matter of a simple refresh. You don't have to wait 24 hours. You don't have to wait, hours or anything like that. It is just a simple refresh. And then if I wanted to pull that data, I could do a download of all of the campaign publication details into a CSV, and then I can slice and dice that data in whatever additional analytics tools I might have. There is also an integration with Viva Insights to be able to show organization, show levels, show location, those types of features that only Viva Insights in terms of the organizational data can bring us, or we can do some third-party types of integration as well to be able to upload a CSV with a lot of our organizational data. So if you have your organizational data in Viva Insights, this is available, but if you have it in, say, another third-party system, we can also bring in some of that organizational data just by a simple CSV upload that is available now. So I'm going to either turn it back to Michael, or I know there's probably a lot of questions in the chat, and I'm happy to answer questions. Demos always bring a lot of questions, don't they?
Indeed. And you covered, I think, a few of the questions. One that is sitting right at the top for us is, can you speak to the security roles that are needed for Corp Comm users to create communications in a campaign? Do you need SharePoint admin, or do you just need to be a group admin, or do you need like a M365 security group admin?
Yeah, we make it really, really very, very not complicated at all. Basically, you have to have the role of, especially in SharePoint, to be able to create a SharePoint group. That would be kind of the most important. There's some processes, if you can't create a group, to be able to work with your IT department on creating that group, creating that campaign initially, and then adding that user. But then it's really just those corporate comms people are owners, and then wherever they're posting to, they have access to be able to post to, either as an owner or a member of those particular SharePoint sites. It's not going to show you sites that you don't have access to already to be able to post into. So the security trimming, the permissions, all of those kinds of things are kind of taken care of for you once you start posting to some of these different areas. But to get in, to create a campaign, yes, 365 groups, admin type of rights to be able to create those groups. But if you haven't turned off any of that group kind of functionality, and anybody can create a group, which is what Microsoft recommends, you should be able to start a new campaign.
Great. Another question we have from Caitlin, will team members automatically get a notification when posting to Teams? There doesn't seem to be any way of tagging in Viva Amplify. Yeah,
so if you do have notifications already set up, we already have that capability tuned in terms of posting to Teams channels. So if you make a post to the Teams channel, it doesn't necessarily tag those particular people. Of course, you could go back into that Teams channel and tag, people on that channel communication. But if you have notifications set up for those particular channels, you'll get a notification in Teams, that little ringing bell type of thing, to be able to show that you've got activity going in that particular area. And, working on other areas where, of course, we could bring in notifications as well. So.
Great. And a question from Esther. Will this video be available after the event? And I can confidently answer, of course it will. Yes, we're definitely recording this, and we will publish it as soon as it's ready. And yeah, we'll attach it to the initial announcement blog, I believe, as well. So we'll make sure that we get this into your hands. Another question, I think you touched on this at the very end of the reporting piece of the demo, but if you want to add a little more color onto it, sure. What is the best way, or can you provide any guidance on how to integrate Viva Amplify data with Power BI?
Yeah, so that download that I talked about, that will actually download into a CSV file. So you could do a number of these downloads across several of these different campaigns, or you could just do one and be able to pull that into Power BI and then, slice and dice your data that is included with that CSV, visualize what campaigns you have, or if you've got more than one campaign, to be able to showcase that and then be able to see which one got more engagement without actually ever going into the campaign. You can just look at it from Power BI. Now, that is all manual. If you've got some Power BI experts in your organization, the capability to download is there, but we don't have a integration with Power BI directly as of this time. So, pulling that CSV and then being able to put it into Power BI or any other, tool that you might have for more of that visual analysis.
Seems like a cool prompt for Copilot in the future.
Possibly.
And quick update that this recording will actually be available immediately. And our great folks on behind the scenes here helping with this event say that this will be available the second that the live stream is finished. So easily share it out to your teams from there. Another couple questions since we have a couple minutes here. Can messages be sent, messages sent by teams, can they be delivered both in chat and channels or only channels? And as of right now, I believe it is only channels, but it's a scenario that we're looking at really, really deeply. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll hand it over to Liz. But
yeah, absolutely. So right now, it is only channel messages. It is not those one-on-one chats. I know we are so exploring many, many different areas that we could possibly have in terms of what are those additional communications channels. So absolutely working on all of those types of things to be, explored in the future, and love to hear some of those scenarios as well. So for right now, just those channel messages, exploring a whole lot of different ways to be able to communicate in the future, however.
Cool. And then I think there was another question. We kind of covered it a little bit at the beginning in the licensing section, but did we hear correctly that all users who receive communications generated using Amplify will need to be licensed for Amplify? And the answer for that is yes. And there's probably ways that they could see communications depending on the channel that they land in, even if they started in Amplify. But the expectation here is that all users will require an Amplify license, and that does also help with the reporting and how these tools all talk to each other. So if you want those advanced analytics, and it also helps them participate in things like campaigns and Viva Engage, which require a license to see and engage with, and posts that show up in leadership corner. So the best way for these tools to talk to each other and really harness all the power of the Microsoft Graph as well is if users are licensed both at the publisher and recipient endpoints.
Yeah, and I just to make mention, I never thought of myself really as a corporate communicator. I haven't had that role necessarily, but gosh, I do a whole lot of updates on different programs that I run for different customers. And I will tell you, once I started using Viva Amplify for the several different sites that I had to post to, and a couple of the Teams channels that I had to post to, and doing the Outlook email to 450 people that were in our private preview for Viva Amplify, gosh, it was a very time-consuming weekly activity. Probably took me about 2 hours on a Friday morning to produce all of those areas, get information to all those areas. When I started using Viva Amplify for this, it took me down to about 20 minutes to a half an hour. So it was really, really, time productive type of savings there. I think when we start thinking about licenses and who can use this tool, we might find that there's a lot of people that are really wanting to take advantage of being able to use this tool. And there's a lot of those different scenarios for those different people, from change managers to, people that write executive comms, to corporate communicators who are, pushing it out to everyone across the organization. There's a lot of different roles that can be using a tool like this. So that speaks to the power of licensing everyone across your organization as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. And I think that begs another question here on what's the best way to roll this out? Is this a corp comms led initiative? Is it an IT initiative? I know you've worked with a lot of preview customers. Where have you seen success for that?
So the biggest amount of success that I have seen overall are those people that have the main communicators, those, corporate comms, those change managers, working side by side with those IT resources. That's really the way that you want to go about doing a pilot on this, at least initially, to get some, awareness, get some champions built up within your organization. I would say, if you don't have corporate comms, other roles could be marketing, could be HR, could be change management, could be project management, could be those people that are like chiefs of staff for those executives. There's a number of different communicators that you can start with depending on your scenarios. And that's where I usually like to start with customers, is identifying what are those scenarios that you're going to use Viva Amplify for in terms of the overall getting used to the product and building those champions and such. And then moving forward with, expanding those different groups of people that are going out for all of those individuals to be able to use the product in the future as well. But absolutely, it's an initiative with, some of those business users, as well as working side by side with IT initially.
All right, nice. I only see one more question here, and then I know we have one wrap-up section.
Yeah.
This is a question for our corp comms team. Is it recommended to build out campaigns for the year to make it easier on the platform and on comms teams? So I think this is more of a strategy question.
Yeah, and it's a great question. So you'll see in the some of the resources that we have, especially in the campaign catalog, they've talked a little bit about strategy in terms of how you want to set up those campaigns. There might be campaigns like a change management campaign that happens. We do a weekly, summary, all those kinds of things. Yeah, that might be something that you reuse that same campaign over and over and over again and create those different publications as you move forward. And then there might be those examples like I went through in our demo today, where you have a campaign that is, company-wide, so big reach, big audience, but you only do it for a short period of time, but you might do multiple publications within that particular campaign that you want to track all against that particular campaign. So you're not looking at individual publications that might have different subjects or might have different pieces of information included. They are all inclusive of the same type of campaign, such as that give campaign, volunteering, giving to charitable organizations that you want to keep track of, and you want to keep track of that year over year, or when you do the next campaign might be a year from now, kind of thing. So all of those are part of the strategy. We intend to help you with that. That's one of the first conversations that I have with customers, is what are those scenarios and how are you going to set those up and how are you thinking about those, as well as in those campaign catalog of ideas that are included in those resources that we're going to go over next.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that's a great segue to start taking us home here. If you're looking to learn more about, well, any of the content that was covered here today, but also about how to manage your own campaigns and some of the best practices we've learned, we have put together a list of resources that you can use at your own discretion. Please, we ask, don't reinvent the wheel here. Take these, use them, add your own company logos, use them to roll this out and to socialize Viva Amplify at your own organizations. But the hero location here is this first URL, the aka.ms/amplify/adoption, or you can go into the search engine of your choice and just type in Viva Amplify adoption, and you'll get a whole slew of resources here on the technical setup of Viva Amplify, how to get going with it. We have a 101 Viva Amplify 101 guide. We have an adoption guide. We have a customizable poster that you can add your own branding to. So please take advantage of these resources. That's why these were made, as well as we have a campaign catalog that has some out-of-the-box campaigns that we see our corporate communications teams here at Microsoft using, and we see a lot of customers using these. We've had a lot of customer feedback in how we built these out around common scenarios like onboarding new employees and benefits enrollment, or staff changes and letters from executives, or project updates for those kind of role-specific communicators. So here you can view them, you can download them, you can steal inspiration from them. We really encourage you to take a look at these. We've found them really helpful. We've also actually published an IT showcase blog on how our internal Microsoft team is using Viva Amplify. And again, you'll see a lot of commonality between what we're doing and what we're practicing, and here what we're talking about and what we're preaching. So please take a look at these. And if you are interested in joining, we have a new Microsoft corporate communications community, and I think we already have a few hundred members of this. We just launched it a couple months ago, and these are industry professionals, Microsoft fans, all kinds of people who are interested in the corporate communications space. And specifically, it's not just related to Microsoft products, but there is a Microsoft product focus on it. So if you have kind of best practices, or if you have questions, or you want tips on using Microsoft solutions for corporate communications scenarios, it's open to anyone. You can get access right here. I believe we meet, is it bi-weekly or monthly, Liz?
Monthly. We just had our meeting for December yesterday, however, but absolutely be setting up a monthly meeting going forward in the new year, so check that out.
Yeah, and it's a place where we get a lot of customers coming and telling their own stories and kind of sharing and crowdsourcing the best way to do this stuff. As well as, we use this to gather our own product feedback. It helps us shape our products. It helps us shape our roadmap. So it's a great place to be. I hope I am done stalling for time so that you had enough time to scan this QR code or type in this URL. But of course, you'll get access to this presentation. And I think that is it from my side. Liz, any final thoughts? I know we're early on time, but let's not use it just for the sake of using it, so we can cut this a little bit short. But any final thoughts?
I don't have anything additional. If there's other questions, happy to take those. But yeah, otherwise, make it a great day, everyone, and love to hear from anyone that has started using Viva Amplify.
Great, thank you. And please, again, you'll find this recording on the Microsoft Tech community. We'll also be sharing our news and updates as it relates to Amplify and the CNC bundle and Microsoft Viva in general. We're really here at an exciting time. This is the rise of AI, and it's the rise of these huge language models that are certainly going to change the way that communications and communicators work in the coming year. So we're at a really interesting time, and we'll have a lot of news to share in the future about how some of that value will get baked into this product, and then how some of those best practices will be shared out so customers can take advantage of them. So once again, from us here at Microsoft, we'd like to say a really sincere thank you, and we hope to see you soon.